What's up, everybody? Real Talk Chronicles. How are you? Can you believe it's January 30th? Is it 30th, right? The 31st? I know it's one of them. I think it's the 31st. 30th, right? Yes. Right. Like time is flying. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, but makes all the sense in the world. Let me just say that. It makes all the sense in the world. Wow, let me get a lot of stuff out the way. First and foremost, thank everybody for chiming in. Appreciate you. Always subscribe to it so you can get the notifications of when we go live. Tonight, I think we all know what I'm going to talk about. Memphis, right? How terrible was that situation that happened out there? And we're going to talk in detail about it. We're going to break it down layer by layer because something like that should have never happened. But we're going to look in and see how it happened, because that's where it really gets, like kind of thick and greasy with that. I say that to say, let me get out the sponsors and other things first. I'm multitasking. I'm not great at it. I'm not perfect. I first got to always, shout out Soft Illusions Art Gallery. Thank you for always just supporting your hubby and my mother-in-law. Also, we have to talk about the Daily Arts of Survival magazine, #1 martial arts magazine in the world right now in the country. So please pay attention to them. They're doing their thing. And if you ever want any magazines, great content of martial artists, even people that you may know or you don't know, something to check out. Melva Wilson, Melva's Restaurant, Ingram Taxes. Definitely got to give a shout out to Ingram Taxes. It's tax season now. Need somebody to do your taxes? Don't be shy. Go to Ingram Taxes. If you need them, let me know, or just reach out to Ingram Taxes and mention Bill Forston. Might get a little discount. Reggie Well Quality Speakers and Harlem Underground. I also have sad news to mention before I really get into stuff. I'm sorry. My coworker, Tim Stewart, for those in the law enforcement, passed away today. And it was sad. Timmy really wasn't sick. And then all of a sudden, something that had to do with his colon and things of that magnitude. And then he had an operation and they removed most of his colon. And the next thing you know, he still remains sick. So I send my condolences to the Stewart family and, of course, all the NYPD brothers and sisters that cared about him. I also have to send my condolences to my cousins. Eldon Moats, Saturday night, had a heart attack or cardiac arrest, and he passed away, and to be found by my cousin, his wife. So I send my condolences to all my family on my mother's side, the Penningtons, the Moats, because it's just a sad state, and the Browns. Gentlemen, ladies, please get yourself checked out. Please, for all those that are transitioning, that are experiencing somebody passing away, I send my prayers and condolences to you all. For the birthday people, now try to keep it upbeat. Happy birthday to those that are celebrating their birthdays. So, celebrations. Now, let's get into this. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Now it's time to talk. Anybody wants to talk tonight, let me know. I'll send you the link. You can come in and express your feelings on this matter. Okay, so now we have Loving God. Mr. Foster, it's so good to see you. I look forward to your show, like when I was young, watching Adam West Batman, same bad time, same. Thank you. I appreciate you, my brother. What's up, Colin? Hey, LaShawn. How are you, President Cadell? Thank you. So, all right, here we go now. Let's talk about this situation that happened. You have 5 officers out of Memphis. Amir, what's going on, brother? If you want to come in, let me know. Just text me and I'll send you the link. Uh, you have 5 officers in Memphis, right? That work in a specialized unit, equivalent to anti-crime in New York. What is it called? Scorpion unit, something like that. Okay. And they're out here to work in communities of color, looking for felonies. We'll just say felonies. We don't have to say anything. Hey, Doris, what's going on? And like I said, if anybody wants to express your feelings and your thoughts tonight is the night. Okay. You're more than welcome, because this is a day of, on the heels of coming into Black History Month. We're going to talk about these Black officers. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. So these officers, 5, do I say brothers? Okay, 5 brothers working, and they pull this young man over, Tyree Nichols. Doesn't have a criminal background, works for FedEx, father. Seems like he's a family man, right? So they pull him over. They said that he was swerving, he was driving erratic. White officer, they pull him out the car. White officer tased him. We'll get to the white officer's name too. They tase him. They pull him out, slam him on the ground. Man says, "Yo, I think you guys are doing too much, right? Like, shit hurt. Like, you banging me around." And if you look at the pictures of the 5 officers, I'm sure you've all seen them. They're not little guys. I don't know what their height is, but their body weight, they're not little, like puny men. But Mr. Nichols is a slim man, a slimmer man than them. What's up, Denny? I see you, brother. I'm gonna bring him here in as I'm talking. So they slam him around. You see them do a lot of stuff to this man that was very disrespectful, totally against what law enforcement is supposed to do. You get him down, you subdue him, you cuff him. Now, let me just say this for anybody out there that says he was resisting arrest. Let me kick you in your face and see if you put your hands behind your back. You know what I'm saying? So let's get off that narrative that this man was not compliant. The man had no choice. You push somebody, they don't stay still. So let's knock off the he was moving. Those just for the naysayers. And please, I dare you to come on here and say to me that he wasn't compliant. The man is getting hit repeatedly by multiple individuals at multiple times, at different times. He finally gets up. Why does he get up? Because they're not trying to cuff him. If they were trying to cuff him, then they would have cuffed him. Or they would have all piled on a rabbit. We've seen that time and time again. He gets up. They eventually catch him again. And then they continue to pummel, hit, kick, punch. They hit him with the ass. They hit everything until the man goes in the hospital. After that, they get their story together. They laugh and they're joking, like it's like they're about to buy a beer at a party. I'm so disgusted. Now, I just got some information about one of the officers, but I want to bring my brother in, Amir Sealy, in, and I want his thoughts on what he saw and what he thought about it. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, good evening, Bill. As always, thank you for having me on. Share my thoughts. Hello to everybody. Good evening. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, and I hope you're week is off to an absolutely phenomenal start. Um, to your point, and to the things that you've brought to light thus far, as the incident with these officers in Memphis and this young man, for me, the thing that stood out the most for me was the way one officer in particular appeared to be teeing off on this young man after he was already appeared to either be handcuffed or at least was being detained with someone holding his arms behind his back. There appeared to be one officer in particular who was teeing off on him in a way that to me appeared to be personal. It didn't appear to be something of the nature of, like you said, maybe they thought that the guy was too strong for them, or something like that, and these guys had to use brute force in order to try to contain the situation. Why I was so disturbed by that in particular for me is because, to the point of part of this conversation, these were African American officers. I was trying to figure out why at no point during any of what transpired and between the tasing and the punches and the kicks, none of these officers saw themselves and or anybody who seemingly looked like them, meaning a nephew, a brother, an uncle, a dad, a grandfather. These are all male figures that are of color that at some point should have, in a split second, hopefully transpired through your mind and said, wait a minute, what am I doing? This is somebody's brother. This is somebody's uncle, somebody's dad, whatever. This is somebody's son. That was probably the most egregious thing to me. Then the fact that after you'd strip all of that down, and let's just say they weren't officers, let's just say this was even a regular fight on the street, where was the ability to be humane? Because how this thing transpired and a lot of what we saw was inhumane. It's one thing to rough a guy up maybe and throw an elbow and rub it across his face, but to tee off on a guy who's totally defenseless, I'm just trying to understand like what really were going through these officers' heads, and why in particular did they feel that it was okay, regardless it was this young man, because it could have obviously been some other young man. I'm not sure how many videos you've seen, Bill, since that video came out, but I've seen other people from the city of Memphis, other men, come forward saying that they had been in situations with some of those same officers where they had been stopped. Things didn't escalate, at least in the way that this particular situation did. But they said that, they remember seeing those officers in particular and having had encounters with them. So it just, like I said, to me, there's so many questions, there's so many things for us to try to unpack here. But I'm just disheartened that somebody or some of us would treat another human being in that way. Not that I'm saying it's excusable if you did it to an animal, but why would you treat another human being that way? Like, what was really going on? What were y'all really incensed about? What were y'all so upset about that you treated another human being this disrespectfully?
Absolutely. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Amir Sealy. And I ask any of you, if you have some comments. This is really like Wednesday. I'm going to go in and see if any other people want to come, the officers want to join in. I'll invite some people in. Welcome back. But I ask all of you, if you want to say something today, please let me know. You can come in and express your feelings and say whatever bothers you. I'm appalled to see, like Dora said, she said it's called implicit biases. She also says, she said this is not. She said they did this many times before. This is the one that got caught. I agree with that. I'm going to say this. So I'm going to lead you up to what I just received. I was watching Channel 7 and George, I hate to butcher his name, was asking the chief. He said, he was going through he was doing George, his thorough journalistic ways. And he said to her, do they have any criminal records? And she stopped And she paused and she couldn't answer it. And what she said is, not that I know of. So
Mm.
let me go down this rabbit hole with you all. New York City doesn't allow people that have priors. Maybe now, if people that have misdemeanors in lieu of maybe marijuana, you probably can get on a job now because it's legal. So that has to be thrown out. But felonies, no bueno, unless you got the crane of life, as we call it, that's going to get you and circumvent things can happen, right? I don't know about other city agencies and their hiring policies. I say all that to say that we all, if you're an inner city kid like myself, you know people. And I'm a real inner city dude. I'm not like the inner city dude that lived in the city in Harlem and I didn't go out. Like, I know cats on both sides, and it was harder to stay clean than it is to get dirty. If you know that I mean, right? You know what I'm saying? That's the best way I could put it. But because you know people that it chose another path of employment does not mean they're bad people. But it also doesn't mean that you're a bad person for knowing them, right? But here comes that integrity issue. Are you still rolling and hanging and doing things for these people, right? Now, let me go really down this rabbit hole. I got an information today that says, I'll read both of them. Let's see. It says, word on the curb. Former Memphis officer Demetrius Haley targeted Tyrese Nichols because he was dating his ex-girlfriend. Mir, didn't we talk about this Saturday? I said it looked personal, right?
Yes.
It says, turns out Tyrese Nichols worked at FedEx and Demetrius Haley's ex and mother of his child worked at FedEx too. Demetrius took a picture of Tyrese Nichols on the ground and sent it to his ex. All the officers involved went out bad over this man's personal issues. Tyrese and his ex had a relationship. I told anybody, I spoke on the show in DC over the weekend. Anybody that's called me and asked me my personal and professional opinion, I told them, I said, the way they beat him is like if somebody told me here that they messed with your daughter and we caught the person, or they felt like it was disrespected and they was going to teach him a lesson. If you look at the beating, I dare not show it to you because I know you all have seen it multiple times, and some of you may have not even seen it because it is not nice to watch. It was a modern day lynching, to be honest with you. And they went after this man, but took turns. It wasn't about arresting him. It was about beating him. And if you anybody that feels like they want to go back and revisit what I'm saying now, and let's play detective together, look at how they hit him. Some guy stepped away, came back, teed off on him. Now he was already on the ground, and you already got 3-4 people already on you. Why is 4 and 5 coming to hit you in between times? Hey Cynthia, how are you? Loving God said, Foster, you know the DAs, you also know elected officials, you also know community mentors. Pursue having all the above mentioned on your broadcast with urgencies so we can hold each one accountable. Absolutely. I think that is it. So, I would love for somebody to turn me on to the chief and hey, what's up, Dana? What's up, niece? I would love for somebody to get the chief of police for me, because I would go down that rabbit hole with her. And see, that's why sometimes being where I'm at is better for me, because if I'm involved too much, you know what I'm saying, Amir, then sometimes you got to join the band. I don't want to join a band. So what's your thoughts on the fact of what I just read? And maybe that might have some credence to how this man was really handled. But going back to what Doris said and you said and everybody else said, that we've come to find out this is their culture. This is the way they abuse and handle people in their communities. and it's a shame they're men of color. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Yes.
so disheartening. So go ahead. I'll yield back and let you say what you feel, brother.
Well, there's a couple of things. First off, I think you're absolutely right because I did see a video alluding to, what you just mentioned in the sense of in Memphis in particular and in that city, the squad that my understanding now has been disbanded, which was called Scorpion,
Yeah.
was set up supposedly, and this was again mentioned by somebody who was from Memphis. This isn't me. This was a video that I saw by somebody who lives in Memphis, and he said that supposedly this particular unit was also utilized because they figured that if they had a group of African American officers who were going around, fortunately, unfortunately, doing some of these things, it may or may not get as much attention as if it were officers of a different ethnicity. So first off, let's add that to the mix. To piggyback on the things that you just added to everything and what we're trying to uncover here. I did see that same information. I'm still not sure how true or untrue that information is because on somebody's post in particular, I did see somebody who is a prominent person within the news world or realm say on somebody else's thing. I saw he said, that supposedly that was false information. But I will say this. If let's just say, in fact, that works out or turns out to be true, because I just had this conversation on a show that I'll do on Mondays just before yours. One of the things that we have to do a better job of is learning how to have emotional intelligence. Now, I get and understand that sometimes, our emotions get the best of us. We're caught up in the moment. The situation doesn't leave us room to possibly look at something and go, wait a minute, let me just look at the facts and see, what is directly in front of me and figure out how to maneuver that. Once you throw emotions into the mix, all of that stuff goes out the window because to the point that Bill just made about that information, if anybody else has gone on to read about it, then you technically messed up all of these other officers' lives because you couldn't keep your emotions in check. Now, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong. We've all dated somebody or been involved with somebody, and then when we saw them possibly with somebody new, we got emotional about it. We felt, a certain way about it. I don't know if you take it to the extremes that these officers appeared to take this to. That's where the problem lies. You could be upset at the fact that somebody new is dating your ex or whatever the case may be. But when you take it to the point where you then do bodily harm, physical harm, mental harm, and all these nefarious things to said person, now you're out of pocket and you're out of control. Yeah. And that says a lot about you, much less than it says about the person who's involved with your ex or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And I think that to your point and to the point of, this conversation, I hope and pray that is or is not what really happened, because that shows a level of immaturity that regardless to what line of work you're in, if you can't be mature about things that you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be handling yourself, then that's horrible. And that speaks, like I said, volumes about you. That doesn't speak volumes about anybody else or anything else. That says a lot about you.
And what's so funny? You said, you hope it's not. And Amir, I really don't know which way I want to sway on this because it's a black eye.
Either way.
Either way. Because now we can talk about the officer aspect of it. Time and time again, still, we don't see, what I'm not saying white men don't get beat up. I don't know, but we sure don't see it if they do. But it's time and time again. Now we got black men beating a black man with no moral compass, just like with no empathy, just beating him. So now you're wearing a job, you're wearing a uniform. and let me break this down for you all if you don't know. There are people out there that say, oh, what about black on black crime or Latin on Latin crime or whatever crime it is, whatever. Listen, we understand, not that we accept, but we understand there's good and bad people out in the world. But for a child, it's just like a child with a parent. We don't expect a parent to abuse their child. And then when we hear that story, we get angry and we get mad because the parent is supposed to protect the child. He brought him in this world. It's the same thing with law enforcement. Law enforcement is supposed to protect us, protect and serve. That's what it says on the car. They're here for the community. Now we can go historically. We understand what law enforcement was in the old times. We understand that. But at the time, there's supposed to be people evolving. But it seems like the culture sometimes in law enforcement hasn't evolved. And maybe to a certain degree, it's evolved here more on the north than it has in the south and the west. But the bottom line is, it still have that kind of mentality. Now, if these officers, let's even say this story is false that I read, right? That's worse. That's worse. That means you abused first you already abused your job. But now think about this. You lied about why you pulled them over. And then when a man said, yo, don't y'all think y'all doing too much right now? And then it just got worse. It got worse. The beatings got worse. Let me tell you something. This is the sad thing about it. He would have been better off fighting back. He would have been better off fighting. He lost his life trying to be humble and de-escalate the situation. How sad is that? And then think about what his mother said. To know my son was calling for me. How disheartening is that? This is the second murder we've seen, because Rodney King didn't get killed, but this is the second murder we've seen. George Floyd and the officers. The officers need to rot in hell. Rochelle, how you doing, sis? He says, hi there and crew. So tired after the Cinderella ball. I'm thankful for the platform. Thank you. I hope you had a good time. Everybody, like I said, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Subscribe to it, please, so you can get the notifications when we go live. And we appreciate. Jose, what's going on? What's up, Ivan? Hey, Tanya, how are you? Appreciate all y'all chopping it up, stopping in. Listen, what's your thoughts on this situation? We're talking about the 5 officers that beat Mr. Tyrese Nichols.
Yeah.
So it's just a sad day. It's a black eye on law enforcement. It's a black eye on the African American culture of the people. That these people were representing us, because we got to understand. No matter you represent your block, you represent your school, you represent your relationship, you represent your. You and I still are representing our
family names. Like it's so many things, so many layers to this bill. Even this, and I'm not sure because I came in a little bit late. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we have the officers who immediately were affected by this, like you said, the African American officers. My understanding now is one of the officers was, I think, Caucasian. He was the original officer who supposedly tased him. If I'm, misquoting or saying some information that's incorrect, I apologize. But like I said, I was coming up to speed on certain things. But now I'm hearing that there's an outcry about him because they're like, well, why was there no reprimanding of that officer as well? If he was the first on the scene or one of the first on the scene to tase this gentleman and to render him, docile to some degree, in order for those other officers to then, start doing, whatever it is they did, then a lot of people are saying that he should be included in the firing and all of the other things that are happening to the officers of African American, who are African American. Then I think you also mentioned the firefighters. I think it was firefighters who were also on the scene, according to some reports. Right, as things happen, and then did not administer any sort of, help or aid to this young man for 20 minutes. Like I said, this has so many layers. It has so much stuff that's power packed in here that it's hard to just pick one thing and be outraged and or upset about, because the level of inhumanity, the level of not treating a human being as such is on so many, there's so many places to be able to place blame seemingly. But like I said, more importantly, I'm just trying to understand and comprehend how any of the, people involved at some point didn't just have a moment of clarity. Like, wait a minute, what are we doing? What's going on here?
Let me tell you something. The moment of clarity that some of them had, they didn't continue to hit them as some of them did. And that's a sad thing to say. So their thing is that's why you see two of them pleading not guilty or this and that, because they're going to say, well, I hit him to subdue him. And then you see, you're going to be like, look at me. I walked away. No, you still didn't stop the continuous beating. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the white officer tased him. So what they're going to say, the white officer, he didn't shoot. He didn't continue. He didn't hit him. Okay, you tased him, but you didn't stop him from hitting. See, people, you got to understand, standing there and watching it, it's just like how many of us get mad now when we see videos of people doing the cell phone, but you're not doing anything. Then you're like, oh, that's messed up. And then you want to be this ghetto narrator and commentator. Oh, look at that shit. Wow. And you're videotaping somebody getting beat. And we've seen females get hit. And guys still tape it. Yeah. Yo, who raised you? You know what I'm saying? Who raised you?
It's funny because I think that then there's that also factors into some degree to some of this as well, because then you start wondering. Like I said, I don't know the ages of these gentlemen, so I'm not gonna speculate. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to think to myself that again, you raise a valid point there. Who raised y'all? How did you get to this point in your life that you just don't care at all? Because there's no way you could tell me through the use of body cams. There's no way you could tell me through the use of, regular camera and things that are in the area that at any point you cared. Because if you did, at least one of y'all would have laid down over this young man and said either enough is enough or tried to pull your, fellow officer off of him or whatever the case may be. But you most certainly would have been on camera or on record trying to break things up or trying to, like you said, de-escalate the situation. And that is not seen by any of us in any way, shape, or form by any of the participants. Come on.
And that's what I think is so sad. Hey, Vanessa, what's going on? You got to give the communities some credit for the peaceful protesting, but still, let me ask you a question, Amir. I can totally agree with this. Who raised you? Absolutely. Vera said that use of force pyramid went out the window. Absolutely. Vera said, okay, let's say. Oh, I see you. Okay, Stefania, because Colin was looking for you. Let me ask you a question, Amir. And I ask everybody, please chime in, just type in and let me know. I want to read your comments. Are you mad that they were black officers doing this to a black man, or that they were just police officers, period? Or both?
I'm on the train of both. And I'm on the train of both only because for me personally, again, I want to say that I don't think that all officers are bad of any ethnicity. Mm-hmm. But I do think that if for whatever reason, and I know it's probably tougher to be on the inside and to deal with it, at least from what we've seen either from movies or what we've seen and heard from friends and family who are in law enforcement, because let's not act like we don't have friends and family members who are in law enforcement.
Yeah.
But I think that, to both of those points, it was disheartening on so many levels because I got a quick glimpse of a video that a friend of the comedic world went live and was talking to another comedic friend of his. And I don't want to, drop his name because this is really his story to tell versus, you or I telling it. But long story short, he was saying how when he had the unfortunate misfortune of, being incarcerated, he realized from his own eyes and from his own perspective, it appeared that all of the other, what do you call the officers that control the prisons? I'm sorry.
Correction officers.
Correction officers. He was saying all of the other correction officers, as they related to their ethnicities, they had some empathy. They had some sympathy. But they said it appeared that only the officers of color treated the other inmates of color absolutely horrible. They talked to them disrespectfully. They treated them, in specific ways. And he said he was in there for, quite some time. So he had an opportunity to see this
Mhm.
over, some time. So I think that sometimes, and this is a fight that I have within myself. I'm trying to figure out how and when we became so hateful of ourselves,
Right.
because in theory that is internal, that's an internal struggle. The fact that you see somebody, I always say it, just in regular everyday. I'm sure, Bill, you experience this in your everyday passing. You ever walk past another brother of color or another person of color, you
Look
say
at
good
you.
morning, and they look at you weird, like, you all you said was good morning. You didn't,
Right. Right.
say something out of line. You're trying to, establish,
I'm not
some
trying to.
sort of
I'm not trying to pick you up or
synergy,
anything. Yeah. Yeah.
energy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I realized that we have this thing about ourselves where we, for some reason, look in the mirror and we can't see beauty. We don't see architects. We don't see mathematicians. We don't see scientists. We don't see doctors. We don't see, all of these other things that we technically are. We
Right.
only see what we think the media in general has perpetrated as each and every one of us being, and we continue to perpetuate that cycle onto each other, even when we greet and we're in and around each other. Not everybody, but fortunately, unfortunately, on a broader scale. And that's sad. We've got to change that dynamic. Otherwise, we're in for a lot worse things to come if we can't change the dynamic of seeing each other and then just be happy to go, oh my God, that's another person of color who's doing, whatever. And I
That's
think that that's
such a parental historical. I like when I speak to kids going into college, leaving high school, and I try to tell them. I said, and I tell them in front of teachers. I say it's a shame that when you get history, just like I learned history in school, we see our ancestors in slavery. We don't see them the kings and queens first. So we see all the poverty that has stricken. Like it's almost like they starting off at five, the bad five, and then we go into gangs. Like we're not, you may give us a pinch of Martin and Malcolm and Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, but like, wait a minute, that's like just like 5.5 and 6. But then let's get back into the gangs and other stuff. All our videos and stuff is us, our kids twerking and rapping. We can Beyonce dance songs, and I'm all good for that. But like I always said, positivity doesn't sell. And that's the shame.
yes,
We talked about that over the weekend. Now to get back to the question that I asked, what bothers you most? Is it they're black officers or they were just officers in general? Fred and Maryland said both. Dana said both. It seemed personal from looking from the outside, looking in, heartbreaking. I'm going to read some more. I'm read the stuff. I don't know, Dana, if you saw what I read in the beginning of the show, but I'm going to go back and read that. Hello, everybody that's chiming in. This Real Talk Chronicles. That's Amir Sealy. I'm Bill Forster. Please, if you like it, subscribe to it, share it. Vanessa said, when did we get to so savage towards our own brothers? I am so disturbed over the brutality. We are disconnected from each other. Absolutely. Stefania said that's an absolute fact, Amir. She also says, it's been your own that give you the hardest time. Absolutely. She said that's a fact at the workplace, especially the manager or the supervisor. Absolutely. Loving God, I'm getting to your question too. You said, Forster, someone can slander your name, not allowing you to interject against the slander, therefore allowing the slandered to go unquestioned. Absolutely. Stefania also says, from some people, power goes to their head. So now they feel like they're above you. Child, please. Rochelle says, I'm frustrated. The disrespectfulness for uniform and the savage act towards another man on this level is disheartening. Exactly. See, we all got feelings about this and what's so funny is all coming to one point. Like you got different streets and blocks and you come in, and how crazy is that? You asked me a question, loving God, and I'm going to go back to it and read it. He says, what's your take on Eric Garner being choked to death for illegal tobacco? I think now I think it's terrible that a man lost his life over cigarettes, like you said, tobacco. The problem that I have and if that's the wrong terminology, I correct myself now, is that Eric Gardner, and you understand what I'm saying, put himself in a situation not to be choked, but to be arrested, right? But Eric Gardner, when they told him that he was going to get arrested, he said, "Yo, I'm tired of you messing with me. It's going to stop today." Basically, he's saying, I wasn't going to jail. That's when you resist. When somebody says, "Put your hands behind your back, I'm going to arrest you." Now, you can talk about Pontalaneo and what made him want to jump on Eric Gardner's back. Because Eric Gardner's a big man. I'm not condoning the chokehold, right? Now it's a sad thing. Big man, you got a lot going on in your internal parts, and you're getting choked out and you can't breathe. And now you're saying you can't breathe. But how many people in a fight, somebody you fight somebody, if you ever been in a fight or wrestling with somebody, and they say, "Yo, get off." Are you gonna let them go? When you're kicking somebody's ass, you kick their ass until you're ready to let them go. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not co-signing or condoning his death. I think it was terrible. What could have happened and what should have happened. Some people don't like the money quarterbacking. I've been in enough altercations in the street with so many different scenarios. I think I have the right to. So that's why I do it. Listen, call for backup. That's a big dude. These guys were under 5. They were under 6 feet. Pontalaneo was the only one that was close to 6 feet. And he might have been, I don't know, 5'8", 5'9", but he was a little stocky. Eric Gardner looked like he was a legit 6'2", maybe wide body, right? Them other officers, they didn't want that smoke. You see, they just sat back. They had their hands crossed and folded. So why didn't you just call for more backup? Get more backup there. If Eric Gardner would have seen 5 officers and 6 officers, he would have eventually, hopefully, put his hand behind his back. But yo, here you go with the cowboy mentality. I'll take him down myself. Who's he think he's talking to? Pontalaneo didn't have to do that. He jumped on his back and choked him. Then he choked him out because now you're going to make sure you got to validate the move. You choking him. I'm gonna hold him until we cuff him now. There's no choking him and then, "Oh, I can't breathe. All right, I'm gonna let you up a little, and then you give me your hands." He's choking. Then you see, the man said he can't breathe, and what does he do? He pushes his head into the ground more, compressing. We got doctors in the building. Tell me, nurses, you're compressing his chest against the ground now. Where's the air coming in? So it's totally disheartening. But let me tell you, I want to go down. I'm gonna go down another road. I'm gonna read some more questions. But let me go about this. Amir, let me see if you know this. Now, how many times when we see something happens with a white officer, and I'm going down a rabbit hole, whoever don't like it, it is what it is. I keep it 100. It's real talk. It's not real feelings. This is what we talking about. How many times when you see a white officer does something, the first thing people say, "Oh, let me see the videotape. Let's talk. Let's wait. Let's see what comes out in the cameras and da 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 da. I don't know, and we shouldn't speculate." And then he resisted, and he should have complied. Let me tell you something. You got white analysts coming out, chiefs, ex-chiefs, ex-commissioners. "Oh, I've never seen anything so disheartening in my life. I can't believe this. I'm appalled. Where did they get this training from? This tactics?" I was like, "Oh shit, where were you when other situations happened?" You know what I'm trying to say? So listen, them black brothers don't have a chance in hell. I mean, maybe they should rot in hell. But it's so funny. They sure ain't got a chance in it. I yield to you. Your thoughts and comments as I try to catch up on where I left off on these questions.
It's so funny, Bill, because you're absolutely right. I think, we, and you in particular, and I always tell you, kudos and props to you for both of your shows and for what they stand for and represent. Mm-hmm. We live in 2 different worlds, and I know that everybody, wants to feel and act like we don't, but we do. If unless you live under a rock, you can honestly see it in each and every day that you walk amongst what's going on in the world. But I'll say this: I think that I always find it really interesting that, to your point, again, I, I can't say that I have or have not heard, but Bill makes a great point about that. I don't know of any other interview to date where a captain was asked if the officers had criminal records, and especially when it's officers who are not African American. I want y'all to think about that, because we've had incident after incident over the last few years where things have gone egregiously wrong, and never once did you hear somebody stand up and go, and here's the fun thing about that is they didn't necessarily ask that question, but then we found out later, officer such and such worked at this precinct prior.
Right.
Had a jacket that said, there were some things that were questionable or whatever the case may be, but was hired at a new precinct. And at no point was there any that said, hey, this situation requires us to, have do some digging or to really, see what's going on here. So I absolutely agree with you, Bill. I think that, we have to understand this double standard. We have to see how amazingly these, like you said, former officers or people who are in and around law enforcement now seemingly are so appalled, but there's never the same sense of empathy and sympathy when their officers are caught in these spaces. There's never that, oh my God, I can't believe that they responded that way. And how could they, utilize that as a way to de-escalate the situation? So I think that we have to, again, as always, we have to hold everybody accountable. We have to hold the people who seemingly are appalled, but again, don't have this same sense of apathy when their officers are caught with their hand in the cookie jar, as for lack of a better term. We have to have that same kind of energy then. And I think that we as a community, we as a people, we as a human race have got to do better, guys. We can't just continue to take at face value some of the negative things that are said about any one group. I always say this to everybody. Every group has some questionable people within the group. Yeah, and if you think I'm lying, I'm just going to say this real quick. If you think I'm lying, the next time, if you have or have not visited Vegas, do yourself a favor and go to the Mob Museum in Vegas. Look it up. Go to the Mob Museum. And the reason why I'm telling you to go there is because they have a display where they break down the Yakuza. They break down the Italian mob. They break down African American people who have been, involved in, organized crime. My point to that is just to say that, fortunately, unfortunately, as Bill, stated a little bit earlier, in this live, we all know some people who might look at life differently. Again, it doesn't make them bad people. They just see it differently. I've always said this. As much as we may despise anybody who we, know, quote unquote, is in the street pharmaceutical sales business, these are men and women who, when you really look at it now, they ran Fortune 500 companies. Period. Whether you want to give them credit or not, that's actually what they ran, because you had to have distribution. You had to be good with money and numbers. There's so many things that factor in. Now, I always say, obviously, we'd always love to believe that everybody can and should use their powers for good. But the reality of it all is we all have moments where we might question something that we've done, said, or how we've acted. Because in that moment, we thought that at that particular time, with the information we had, it made sense. When you look at it now, after having removed yourself some years later or having the opportunity, that's when clarity sometimes comes into play and you go, I could have handled that differently. My bad.
Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Amir Silly. I'm Bill Forster. If you like it, subscribe to it. Like Fred Jerome said in Maryland, she said police officers need need ongoing de-escalating training, debriefing after forceful arrest, etc. Hey Tracy, Lou, my brother. What's up, John? With that, cause I think de-escalating comes when you have to de-escalate. Now, there are certain people that just don't want to go, and you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? There's an old saying in law enforcement: you got to do what you got to do. But you don't do it to the person that don't need it to be done to. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, like, let's knock it off. That man did not deserve that. And for those that are just chiming in late, I got some intel. Hey T, what's up? How are you, sis? I got some intel, and I'll read it again for those that are just tuning in, on what I received. It says, turns out Tyrese Nichols worked at FedEx, and Demetrius Haley's ex and mother of his child works at FedEx too. Demetrius took a picture of Tyrese on the ground and sent it to his ex. All the officers involved went out bad over this man's personal issues. Tyrese Nichols and his ex had a relationship. It says, word from the curb, former Memphis officer Demetrius Haley targeted Tyrese Nichols because he was dating his ex-girlfriend. Anybody, when I was on Dr. Corder's show in D.C., on the DMV, I mentioned that to her. And, everybody was a little thrown off. But like I said, Amir, when I talked to you earlier and I talked to anybody else, I said, if you look at that beating, and I tell people to go back and look at it now from a detective standpoint, the way those savages beat that man, that poor man, it was personal. It wasn't about putting handcuffs on him. It was about hurting him first. And when the de-escalator is telling you calm down, and you're abusing him, I don't get it. Now I asked a question. Yeah, thanks, cuz yeah. So when Endora said the only way to stop this brutality is to start holding these cops accountable. Absolutely. Dana said, wow, that's what I thought too. It was personal. Like I said, for those that can stomach it, look at it again from my eyes to your ears, and now your eyes to your head. Look at the motives. Look at the way they're moving. They snatch out the car. They slam him to the ground. They talk about, hey, he's like, hey, wait a minute, y'all doing too much now. Now they're barking at all these fake orders for the camera, but you're hitting me, and you're pushing on me, you're punching me for a traffic stop. The chief of the police said that they went back and looked at all the video footage for that area, and there's nothing corroborating with the story as they said that he was supposedly doing swerving in and out and stuff like that. Then they had Malik always laughs at me when I say this because she knows I mean it. They had a mitigating gall to now stand there and try to get their stories together and laugh and think like it was a joke. You know what I'm saying? Yo, listen, you can talk about karma, you can talk about street justice, you can talk about anything you want. Those guys is a piece of shit. Those are a piece of shit. And I feel sorry for their family because now their family got to recognize it. Let's talk about this. Like I said, I go back to what I said I saw on Channel 7 when George asked, for those like I did just chiming in, when George asked Sinopoulos, I tear his name up, I feel sorry, George, that he asked the chief, he said, did they have any criminal records? Like I explained earlier on the show, for those that missed it, I don't know Memphis PD policy on hiring people. New York City doesn't allow people with felonies or misdemeanors. They may have now started letting people with misdemeanors come on because, if you got arrested with weed or something like that, marijuana, that's thrown out. It's legal now. So you have a case you can fight. But felonies and things of that magnitude, no. I don't know how stringent Memphis or other cities are. You know what I'm saying? So to say, did they, now, like you said, you ask anybody in crime or just life and emotions, what is the common thing that causes men to cheat? I mean, like kill, double cross the other people. It's a woman. It's a woman. And if this man is mad that he wants his ex-wife back, and then he looks at this skinny dude like, yo, he ain't me. I'm a police officer. You working at FedEx? You talking to this punk? How dare you? Listen, some people, their private parts is that uniform. They're only as tough as the hours that they work. I'm telling you facts. I say it in anybody's face that's worked with me. They know I keep it 100 all the day, every day. Like I said, this is Real Talk Chronicles. If your feelings are sensitive, this ain't the show for you. This ain't the podcast for you. A lot of officers are only as tough as they work those hours. And then you working in this unit and you think you gun ho and you go to the bar and you want to tell these Western stories. Oh, I did this, I did that. Did you do it by yourself? Yeah. 5 people jumping on one man that's not looking for trouble. Like, the sad thing is his mother's trying not even, she doesn't even want to hear it. Mike May's in the house. Let me just read some comments. Tawana Scott, she said, I heard one of them say, I hit that MF for everything I had and he didn't fall. That's inhumane. Absolutely. Tracy Morton, she said, savages. Vanessa said, wow, I didn't know about this new information, but it being personal, totally criminal. These officers premeditated their plans and used the force to execute the young man. Absolutely. And the bottom line is, listen, people don't know how much pain that you can withstand. I might be able to hit Amir several times and he could take it. He may just get a little welt. You might hit me several times and my might be brittle and fragile and it swell up and break up. And we don't know about force trauma. They pounding and kicking him in his face. The doctors, we can talk more about that. You jarring the brain internally. Did you see his face? Anybody? Like when he was laying in that hospital bed, the swelling, you don't even know tons of stuff could have happened after that. Yeah. I know, Cynthia, like you said, you couldn't watch it because, you cried. Absolutely. Very sad. Loving God said, people of color are trained to devalue each other and their bootlick whoever is more corrupt. Yeah, Vera said at the point you ran it. Vera said at the point he ran away, it should have ended. You had his car. He could have been found. Not that you mentioned it was personal. Makes sense. Yeah, what I'm saying? Like I said, and I ask you, when I do stuff like, this journalist stuff, and when people call and ask me to speak on things, and I've done several things already, I have to look at it from so many different angles. It's just like when Amir and I were talking Saturday. I said, Amir, I'm looking at it from a black man, which infuriates me. I'm looking at it from an officer. You so disrespected. Now you just set us all back, and now you're black and you're doing it. So you know what I'm saying? That makes it even worse. Not that we accept it from white officers, but it's just the fact that now here's another thing that just co-signs the police brutality to a person of color. Like Dr. Corder had on her show. She said, yo, living by black. And then now I had to look back, being a martial artist and a person that has fought in the street and been in these kind of situations with multiple fights, fighting multiple people and stuff like that, how they were hitting him. It was like they took breaks, stopped. Then one guy came up and pulled out the ass and said, let me get it, let me hit him. Then the other guy comes over and then he kicks him in the face. Then the other ones are pounding him, picking him up, and then slamming him back down, punching him and kicking him while he's on the ground. Listen, man, thank God I don't have no brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Yo,
you like you said, even if you haven't seen the video, and again, I'm gonna say this as well because I said it on something on my Motivational Monday show. I said,
hold on, man. I just want to read what Dr. Corder said. He had multiple cranial bleeds.
Wow. Oh wow. I suggest everybody do this as well. If you have or have not seen it, please do yourself a favor. Obviously, see it if you feel the need or have the need to see it. Do yourself that favor and check it out. But don't continuously watch it, because one of the things that I think we don't necessarily understand is PTSD comes in numerous formats. And if you watch it enough and you take on the energy of it, it does affect you. whether you think it does or doesn't, because it's in your psyche, it's in your, in the back of your mind, or, in your, what you call it. And you don't want to keep that kind of energy and or, visuals in your spirit. So I just, ask everybody, please monitor yourselves, be, judicious about how you watch it or how many times you watch it. And just know that we all are definitely on the same accord of feeling as though this was inhumane, seemingly unwarranted. And, like I said, we just want to try to understand how and why these officers felt the need to carry out this. It's so funny, Bill, just now when you were describing it, it made me think of when you see in the movies when they're trying to beat information out of somebody.
Yeah.
That's what it really reminded me of. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
just as you were talking about, I said, wow, that triggers when I watch movies and they're supposedly trying to get information out of somebody and they're torturing the person. It reminded me of that. And like I said, it's very unfortunate. So, oh my God.
Stefania makes a great point right here. And maybe we'll try to chop it up for a few minutes on this whole topic. This is not the statement that I'm going to read. I'm going to read her first one, and then I'm going to read the one I think stands out. She said, "I can't watch the video. I've been feeling down for days. It's traumatizing to Black people to continue to see ourselves being killed senselessly by the police on camera." Absolutely. But this is the one she says, "I'm convinced that this will never end." Wow. That's one of the statements. Yeah. Yolanda said, "Oh, him running away pissed them off." Yeah, you know, I think everything pissed them off. I think they pissed him off because some people, listen, have you anybody out here, if I'm going to go down the road of what the intel that I read earlier has some validity. There's always been somebody that you dated that their ex or somebody, guy, girl, been like, "Yo, you dating him?" He could have been Denzel. You dating him? I'm Idris Elba. Or you might be looking like Elmer Fudd, but you just think you look better than that dude because your green-eyed monster jumps in, and now you're jealous. So the bottom line is, he's looking at this dude like, "Yo, I'm a police officer." And I'm telling you, there's a lot of police officers in this world that have that macho mentality because they wear that uniform and they think their shit don't stink and they think the girls like them. They didn't watch enough of these Clint Eastwood movies and Bruce Willis movies and all good movies. No disrespect, because I've watched them too. But then they be like, "Yo, I'm a cop," and then knock it off. Knock it off. It ain't like that. I came on the job thinking I was John Shaft until I was standing on that foot post in the cold. I said, "Oh shit, this is different." You know what I'm saying? I was in the cold.
Change your whole perspective.
I can do this shit. Yo, what happened to walking in the street with the leather coat? That shit wasn't me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Some people get on the job and they don't know what the hell they talking about. Damn it, assholes. So, but the serious enough Tawana said, Whoopi Goldberg made a comment on The View. They wouldn't understand what is happening until a white man is beat up and killed. Listen, everybody, I saw that today too, T. Let's all keep it 100. There's a bigger picture than this. It's, when did the cry come out? Like I said, I've seen white people come on TV and throw them Black guys under the bus, as they should have been. And I've seen those same white people, commentators, never throw anybody. And like, wait a minute. Oh, somebody talked about the guy that was on Tucker Carlson. Let me scroll back and see if I can find that comment. What's the kid, little chubby kid? I think I sent it to you.
Jason Whitlock.
Yeah, Jason Whitlock.
Whitlock.
His punk ass. He came on. I just, I gotta keep it real with somebody. Cuz I see you, Amir. Ariel. Everybody, Ariel, put in where people can listen. My cousin is a phenomenal musician. He has music on. Ariel, put your in the chat where people can find your music, man. And his music is supposed to be I haven't set it up because I apologize for that too. And It was Ariel's uncle. My cousin is the one of the person that passed away this weekend. So my condolences to our family. But cuz put your information in too, because I want people to check you out. He's a sponsor of the show too. Also, I was talking about, I got to get back to the Whitlock. What's his name?
Jason Whitlock.
Yeah, Jason Whitlock. Who put that in there? I'm gonna scroll back, please. Okay, yeah, Cynthia wrote it. She said, this caught my eye from Fox News, Tucker Carlson, when this person, Jason Whitlock, said black single mothers are to blame for the killing of Tyree Nichols. I thought that was the most asinine statement that I've ever heard in my life. Thank you, Cynthia, for reminding me about that. It was appalling and it was disgusting. The fact that you want to say that. Now, listen, we can talk about how hard it is for a single African-American woman to raise an African-American man or a Latin male in this world today. We get it. We understand the shortage of black men or Latin men in the household is terrible. And we all out here trying to do our part. We should be doing more. But listen, that window, I'm with you for 4 hours or 3 hours. How much can it change in a 12-hour window when you got all time to be corrupt and do all kind of, terrible stuff? So, and I had another discussion with a person over that same comment. And because thank you, those who give me information and of course, who I share information with. So he was like, yeah, I got to agree with him. I said, whoa. Don't agree with this buffoon. He's saying that these black men get hurt because a woman was a police chief. That was the most asinine thing I'm saying. If you want to talk, and see, sometimes you got to see how people play word games. He started off talking about men of color not being raised by women in single households. But then he says, oh, the police chief, it's her fault that this happened to Tyree Nichols. You're out of bounds, B. You straight out of bounds. Jay Duncan, what's up, brother? All right, everybody, please, if you get a chance, check out my cousin's stuff. Ariel Pennington on Spotify. He got some new stuff. I hope you like it. Sheila, Lisa, what's going on? She said, Bill, do you think that the white officer said something to the other officers that ramped them up? Or do you think it was just the cop bravado? I think it's neither nor. I think it was, I looked at it and I'll tell you because I think you just chimed in. I think it was premeditated. I feel that those officers had something personal. I looked like it was a beating. I tell Amir, I'll tell you, I'll tell everybody, I'm kind of going on a record with this, that I feel like they wanted to hurt that man for a reason, unbeknown to anyone else right now. I also feel right now that I had said I got some intel that one of the officers' ex-wife or girlfriend was dating Mr. Nichols. So we got to take it from what it is. So I think these officers, shame on them. Like he says, how where's your moral compass that you're going to sit there and let this man get pummeled and beat like that, and then you do nothing about it? Like you said, Amir, you and I talked about it. You might have said it earlier. Like, you didn't see your child, you didn't see your brother. When did you say, yo, chill? You're gonna. When does the word come in? Chill. You're gonna kill him. Not said at all. Everything was, yeah. You see how I hit that MFer? You see this? And he did that, and I did that. Yo, punks, coward. Dave Marquis said, I really believe this. Instead of the taxpayers paying for police getting sued, if money came out of their pension, that would change behavior in the future. Onlookers also. What do you think? I've heard it before. I don't know if it'll ever happen because now we have a lack of police officers being so aggressive in their work, and that culture is starting to try to come back. But the thing is, now maybe a situation. Now, I will say this, Dave. Those officers, if whatever pension they got, it needs to be taken. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a blatant assassination.
I think you're right. I think it should be a situational, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it should be a situational kind of thing. Listen, split second decisions. And what's the young lady that got shot in her house? It wasn't Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor
Breonna Taylor.
and John Jefferson too, right, or something like that.
Yes.
Yes, like that dude was a cowboy to me. You're there on a wellness check. Why are you creeping through the garbage in the back? And then you got a right. She has a right to bear arms, right to carry state. She gets her firearm, and then she comes like she rightfully should at 2 o'clock in the morning. She hears noise in her backyard, scuffling around, got cans, and it ain't cats and shit, and then cats and rats. And then all of a sudden he sees her and he lets off. See, that's cowboy shit. All he had to do was wait for another unit and said, listen, just stay back here. See if anybody comes out. I'm going to knock on the door. Bing, bong. Yo, listen. Hey, Mr. So-and-so. Oh, okay, you good? What happened? Oh, I was cooking hamburgers. It's not uncommon for people of color to cook hamburgers and shit or at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. If you hungry,
Thanks.
it ain't common for that. Shit. You ain't black if you ain't eat at 2 o'clock in the morning. At one time in your life, I don't know if you're doing it now, but at one time you ate something. Shit, I remember you come home hanging out for a party and you eat some cold chicken. You know what I'm saying? So let's not go. Jay Duncan, exactly. Gang tactics. It was hood mentality. Like I said, everybody earlier, I said, I think when I said, Channel 7, a newsman asked the chief, did they have any criminal records? I said that earlier that I don't know the policies of Memphis police hiring, but in New York City, New York State, you can't hire with a criminal background. Something to think about. This is something we will pick this up definitely Wednesday. I just want to but like I said, it's disheartening because the bottom line is we still haven't got to the answers that we want to know. Why? How come? Now watch. I'm gonna go out there with you. On the trial, before the trial, maybe somebody gonna sing a song. Yo, listen, it wasn't really me. I thought he was moving. That's why I hit him. Listen, no, I shot the taser because he was going to run. I heard my other officer yelling. Listen, you're going to see this shit like passing cards under the table. It really is. It's going, people are going to, he said, hope these cops were drug tested. Yeah. Listen, well, all that. That's our Harlem vibes eating at 2 a.m. Hey, absolutely, Rochelle. Let me just go back and read some more comments. This is real talk. Like I said, my cousin put his stuff in there. John Walker said they had no remorse as corrupt officers and did not care. They care now. Absolutely. Jay Duncan says someone always says dumbass and stuff until it's in their ball court. Absolutely. Like Tawana said, yeah, dumbasses. Tracy said I watched some of it, but I had to stop. Instead of I watched Little Groove Baptist Church, Reverend Terry K. Anderson, and the sermon was something has gone wrong in the field. Matthew, wow, 13:24-30. He did not hold back and made some valid points. Wow, that's what's up. So funny, baby. Oh, we got a lot going on. Thank you, Tawana Scott, for the passing of my cousin Ariel's uncle. Yeah, man. And then Dr. Corder will be talking in Black History Month about signs of, people of color, what things can happen to us, man. Nobody's exempt. You know what I'm saying? I see D.W. Williams is watching. Walt Anderson is watching. Joe Harmon, Pamela Perkins. What's going on? Gaylord, I see you all. I'm going to charge you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. You want to say something to me? Please go ahead, brother, because we got a few minutes. I'll give us another before we can get out of here, because the bottom line is, I'm like I said, so let's go over the points, Amir, that we brought up tonight.
Mm-hmm. I think, again, first and foremost, obviously we are all, again, disheartened by all of the events that have unfolded thus far as this case is concerned, and as far as what is eye test, ready, meaning we clearly see there were these officers who took full advantage of the fact that they were officers in executing a person of color. To our eyes, at least yours and mine, it seemed personal from the start. At least to me, it always seemed personal from the start because of the way that they, technically beat on this young man. In my eyes, it seemed personal from the start. We are now, like you said, starting to receive other information that is indicating that it was of a personal nature for at least one of the officers involved, in and including the fact that this gentleman supposedly is dating his former mother of his child and so forth and so on. So, as these things unfold and as we really get to the bottom of it, we are going to obviously probably be even more incensed about how and what has happened. But as I pointed out, and this is, some things to take away from this and some things to, possibly put in your arsenal, work on your emotional intelligence. It's paramount. If this is any indication of what can happen if, God forbid, you don't get your emotions in check and in order, and you allow that to get the best of you, which then allows you to convince some other idiots to get on board with you and do something harmful to another human being. If that doesn't show you how quickly and how unfortunately not being in charge of your emotions can lead to, taking you down the wrong pathway, I don't know what else will and should give you that, same kind of train of thought. And then lastly, as I stated, please do yourself a favor. And if you are partaking in looking at the information under any and all circumstances, obviously check it out, look at it, but limit yourself, because I'm telling you, it will become a part of your psyche, it will become a part of your energy. And at which point, then you'll find yourself depressed. You'll find yourself trying to fight certain things that you shouldn't have to fight. This was an unfortunate, isolated incident. And we're hoping, even based off the comments and some of the stuff that people have written and said tonight, that we don't, continue to go down this road. But we have such a far way to go in terms of learning to like ourselves and or love ourselves. And then in turn, starting to look at each other in that same light of love and respect. And I hope
I said earlier too, I asked people, and for those that are just joining or just peeping in now, I asked the question, what bothers you most? Is it that this was officers, or this was black officers that did this? It can be both. It's so disheartening to see that once we feel like we took one step, like the only thing that came out of this right now so far, depending on who you ask, is that we've been showing peaceful protest, right? Like I said on the news, I've said this, I'll say it. Anybody's show that ask me, I've seen white expert, someone to call me an expert, someone wants to call me that because I didn't make the rank of chief, but I've been in the war. So I've seen when anything happen to other officers or somebody gets hurt or shot, we got to wait till all the evidence comes in. We got to do this, we got to do that. Let me tell you something. Every show I've seen since that situation, since they released that tape Friday night, I've seen chiefs, inspectors, retired commissioners. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. This was appalling. Did you see this? This was just a straight savage beating. Listen, if you're going to say it for these clowns, say it for them other clowns. A clown is a clown. The circus, it's just a different date on the circus. It's still a clown. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep this shit 100 when it comes to that. Sean, what's up, Sean? My man Sean Nichols in the building. He says once he was cuffed, all that BS. Okay, the screen is jumping, and that means that's a good thing when the screen is jumping, because I mean there's people in here and they're chopping it up. I appreciate you all. If you like it, subscribe to it, everybody. This is, like I said, positivity. Tawana said, did they forget about Rodney King? Absolutely. Amir and I said this. Ms. Scott said we have to stay proactive and stop being so reactive as melon people. Yes, Ms. Scott, we do, but it seems like there's always the door and somebody tries to lock it on us. I can speak out, I can speak up. And loving God, I saw your message. I'm going to read it. Thank you for that compliment. But these brothers, and I excuse me for going with my skin tone at first, these clowns, these savages, just put us back, law enforcement and people of color. So
Yeah.
you know, so funny because now you got people of color beating people of color. Never would you see any savagery with another person of color doing that to another person of color. Not in a uniform. I don't even know if this might, to me, this might be the first time in my 30-some years being involved in law enforcement to seeing something like that. I may have seen somebody slap somebody or push him, and then next thing you know, or that now they want to put their hands up. This was a man that wasn't even fighting back, and I challenge anybody that to tell me that he was fighting back. The man was getting kicked, punched, and shoved around and slammed, getting hit. I tell anybody, you think it's easy to put your hands behind your back when somebody punching and kicking you in
Let
your face?
somebody come on.
You try it. You try to cuff somebody and getting kicked in the face. And I'm not saying there's people here that said that, but sometimes you got the ghost ears. And if you're listening and you think that that's crazy, then trust me, you do it. You know, this ain't about just join the blue and be a part of it. And I'm not saying anybody has said anything to me in regards to just, oh, it's all about the blue wall. No, trust me, I don't even want to hear that kind of conversation. I heard somebody try to articulate. I was sent something, and thanks for the sender. You don't have to say it. My cousin sent it to me. And one guy wanted to try to talk about how to stop, how to do when police pull you over, how to do a car stop. Yo, listen, dude. When you mention that, you're trying to insinuate the man didn't do anything right. Mr. Nichols did not do anything wrong, but be Mr. Nichols that night. So let's cut for that good. And I would tell him in his face that when you start trying to insinuate things, you go down a road that you don't want to go down. Let me read some comments and then I'll hold on. David Marquis said, another sad thing is that the innocent families of the clowns are excelled. Stigmatized children and family members have to move over this over their relatives' ignorance. Absolutely. Colin said he was given 70 commands in 13 minutes. Exactly. Vanessa, 70 commands. Wow. Who gets 70 commands in 13 minutes? You tell it, yo, he came out the car saying, yo, wait a minute, y'all slammed him to the ground. He said, y'all doing too much. He's obviously telling you, I don't want any problems. And you still want to slam him to the ground. Oh, Vanessa said, I totally agree with what you just said. It reflects our disconnect to each other as Black people and break down in our relationship. I live in Florida, and every month they have a gun show. I know they do. I have often wondered, why are they buying so many guns? This incident justifies what they shoot us first and ask questions later. Those guns are for them to protect them from themselves. Absolutely. Sean says we have to rely on brothers like you, Bill, who are in the system and really know what it's like behind the scenes. Absolutely, brother. You know, I'm liked. I was loved in that street. When I started doing stuff and speaking out, I wasn't loved anymore, brother. I was just like, oh shit, you changed. I had people tell me you changed. I was like, you didn't know me. We was at one birthday party and you bought me a beer. What do you know about me? Because if you'd have known anything about me, I've been this way 100. I've always stayed this way. I didn't deviate. I say what I say and I say how you feel. What's up? Hey, Sybil. Tracy said, what bothers me the most is the lack of humanity. You have to see someone as less than human to be able to do this. Absolutely. And then it all depends. If this guy is jealous, he was in rage. So what's the best way to get rid of something? Kill it. And you think your woman's going to come back to you now? And then supposedly he sent back the picture, like you said to one of Ronnie Scott. She said it was getting jumped by a gang for no valid reason. This is what bothers me. It had nothing to do with law or serving or protecting. Absolutely, Shalisa. Sean said this thing bothers me and how deeply systematic this is. Deeply systematic. Anything you want to say in real life? So look for comments, and then I'll just cut back in.
Again, I can't, stress enough how, just, you almost at a loss of words because you run out of adjectives, you run out of explicitives to, describe this situation. And more importantly, you just hope and you pray that unfortunately, this is a wake-up call for anybody who may be down that rabbit hole. As you've been alluding to, throughout this broadcast, if you're in any way, shape, or form in that energy, meaning that you think because you don on a certain attire or you wear a certain badge or whatever the case may be that gives you carte blanche and or the right to be inhumane to another human being, you are sadly, sadly mistaken. And I pray for you. I really, really do. Because that
Absolutely.
means that you have deeper issues than any uniform or any other thing could possibly, help or be to you. You really need to do some self-inflection here and get yourself in order.
Absolutely. Let me read some more comments. Everybody, like I said, this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Amir Sealy, Foster. We will be picking this up again Wednesday. Hopefully, Kevin and a few other guys. I'll get some other officers on that have some extensive time in the field, and try to get my man. I think out of Minnesota. See if I can get my man Cornelius to come on. He's active, so I can't count on him to say too much because he's still active. See, when you're tired, you kind of say what you want to say. Loving God is a privilege, said Forster. You have the capacity to save lives through your show and in the comfort of your home. We need Sledge, Alvin Bragg, and Adams on here together. I will try to reach it back out to them. I saw Alvin Bragg maybe about a week and a half ago, and he told me he will come back. He said, just let him know. So look, trust me, I will be getting Alvin Bragg. Maybe I'll get him on. I don't want to say I'll get him on for Black History Month, but I just got to, his schedule is tight. But out for those that don't know who Alvin Bragg is, he's the first African-American district attorney of New York City, of Manhattan. God is put says it's through self-control we lead by example to love all ethnicities. To further this generational move from God, the worst is yet to come. Why is this generation not thanking God for their blessings? You have shelter, food, hygiene, equality, and still don't thank God. Yeah, big point. My man Jay Duncan said this is senseless murder done, stained February Black History Month. It's going to get uglier. I pray we don't get this to a martial law situation. You have the ability to display a panel of to do color. Loving God said you have the ability to display a panel of to do colored folks. Please make it reality. Yeah, Loving God, trust me. I ask. Sometimes I have to work on their schedules. Sean said the unit reminds me of a specialized unit that Atlanta PD used to call Red Dog. Wow. The tactics were interesting, and these was late 80s and early 90s. The unit could have personal vendettas against members of the public. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shalissa said they were too comfortable with the violence. This isn't the first time. Somebody, I think it was Doris.
Somebody else said that.
Yeah, that they had already committed. Did some kind of things to a man, pulled a gun to his head. Like this unit is not just being asked to be banded because of this one incident. It just seems like they have just a slew of incidents in their folder in their jacket that is ridiculous. Like I said, I'm appalled. Dana said, when he said the younger generation, 20 plus 30s, take breaks up to another level. Their emotions are way different from the older generation, 40s and up. They can't control their emotions. They want to hurt the other person. What is the point? It's not worth it. At the end of the day, there is more fish in the sea. Honestly speaking, move on. Yeah. She said, how can you stop moving if people are beating you? You can't. That's a stupid command. It is a stupid command. It's a command that with the ears here, the mind believes. So when I say police don't stop moving, don't fight me back, and I'm punching you in your face, when somebody says, well, what did you hear from the window? Oh, I heard them say, police, stop moving. Oh, what did you see? When I came to the window, they was fighting. Listen, I've given a lot of, I always give intel. I've never jeopardized a police officer's job, but I'll tell you what's happening when it comes to brutality of my people and people of color. I've never played that, and I never will play that. And if I'm not invited to the Christmas party or somebody's birthday, then I don't give a damn. I know enough people that I got enough birthdays. I think I know enough people where I can celebrate other people's birthdays. I don't have to just come to that. It is. So everybody, please, whatever your comments or questions are, we got it. Hey, Dr. Byron, what's up? How are you, man? I heard today that one of the cops had a personal issue with Tyree. Yes, I read that earlier. Is that he was Tyrese was dating his ex wife, and I guess they both worked at FedEx, and I guess he found out. So thank you, Tawana. I appreciate you for chiming in, and hope to see you guys. Please, everybody, subscribe to this. Um, you know, please come back and check us out. We will be here. I want you all to subscribe to it. Please tell somebody, let them know when you want real talk. This is where it's at, man. Give us some hearts. Mia, give us some closing statements, and then I'll end it. You know,
It's Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I hope you all had a phenomenal weekend to the best of your ability. It's the start of the week. It's the close of the first month of the year, quiet as it's kept. I mean, you don't think about it, but that's how quickly this all happens. It's just a second ago, we were all saying Happy New Year to each other. And already we're about to embark on the second month of this year in particular. Start of Black History Month, or Black History Month as they've labeled it, even though Black History is 365 days a year. In particular, it's also the celebration of myself personally, and my brothers. We're all born in the month of February,
yeah.
so I'm always happy about this time of the year. But I just encourage everybody, first and foremost, check in and on your people, because you don't know what your friends and family members are going through, and a phone call, a text message, and all that could be that one saving grace that walks them off the ledge and gives them the opportunity to fight a little harder, or to feel as though they have somebody in their corner. So I encourage everybody to do that. And then most importantly, take time out to check on yourself. Look inside, see what things you need to change, switch around, some stuff you need to delete, some stuff you need to tweak, make better, some stuff you need to get rid of altogether. Make those changes. Constantly make the little adjustments to win your championship. This gentleman here, Bill, with his real talk, the end of the day, that's really what this all boils down to. Giving us the opportunity to hold that mirror up, look in that mirror, make those adjustments, make ourselves better, make the world better through those adjustments.
Let me just say this on closing. First and foremost, I forgot to mention Amir and our friend Rod Strickland, Byron, and Steve. Their father passed away, so that was another individual that passed away. Of course, my friend Dee, her father passed away. My cousin, Ariel's uncle, passed away Saturday. A lot of death in the air. Somebody else, Timmy Stewart, my old co-worker, he passed away today. So let's celebrate life, yo. Real talk. Let's celebrate life. Try to reach out to those that you really care about. Or if you can't even call them, maybe shoot a text. You know what I'm saying? Check in and just be like, hey, what's good? Or just checking on, thought about you. I got a call, Red Alert reached out to me. He was like, yo, haven't spoken to you or Sparkle. Boom. So we said we all gonna get together and try to, get together and just have some eats and chop it up. So I appreciate those calls and thoughts. Everybody, listen. Please do whatever part you can to make this world a better place. I know it's hard. A lot of us have busy lives, but our young women need to be mentored too, just like these young men. I got a call today. Maybe, can I come and do another school, speaking at another school? It's a shame. The kid gets shot right here on 123rd, 122nd in Amsterdam. I get the call. Can you come talk? I need the parents involved. I can't touch these kids. And then after a while, there's an age gap. I don't care how cool or smooth I look. There's a still age gap. I talk about what I did. I may be older than their parents, or I may be their parents. You know what I'm saying? So there's a disparity. There's a big gap. So we need to find these young people to come out. Like I said, I need you to help me, support me, help me grow, so I can put this word out there more and more, and Amir can help. We do it together, and my other people. Remember, the first Monday of the month, I have Assemblyman Al Taylor, who's running for city council. He'll be here. The second Monday of the month, I have Dr. Marilyn Corder. They were in a group tonight. We're going to talk about Black history stuff, and I'm sure she wants to jump on this topic. The next Wednesday of the month is Allison Williams. I'm sure she'll want to talk about stuff, but she's the first lady at Def Jam. And then the fourth, sometimes it's Malika and I, or depending on it. I try to only give you good content. Wednesdays, you know, the fellas used to be here, but the fellas are doing other things now, and some are back. You know, they're in and out. But I'm when I come here Wednesday, I'm coming to give you the smoke. Wednesday, I'll be here. Wednesday, I'm gonna find somebody. Like they said, hella hot water. I'm gonna bring a team of people here. Hopefully, Amir can come back Wednesday. And listen, everybody, you are always welcome to come on Real Talk. This is an open forum. You can come in here and discuss your feelings and emotions. I appreciate you being behind the scenes, but I'm always extending it. Anytime you want to be on this show in regards to something, especially like Wednesday coming up, and I'm telling you, we're going to talk about Tyrese Nichols and other law enforcement situations. So I'm telling you, that's going to be the topic. A lot of times I don't know what my guests, my co-hosts want to talk about, unless it's something that's really blown up and everybody's the talk of the town. But otherwise than that, Wednesday, part 2 of this. Listen, appreciate the love. Thank you all for chiming in. I love all the support. I give it back. You know, I try to stay humble with this. So this is you're fostering the moment with positive vibes. That's my slogan. And this is Real Talk Chronicles. That's Amir Sealy. I'm Bill Foster. See you Wednesday, part 2 of this topic. Rest in peace, Tyrese McNichols. Good night, everybody.
Good night.